Hello and welcome to episode 135 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. Join me as always as a glorious League Freak, who you can find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm going really well. How you doing?
Yeah, mate, I'm doing good. It feels a bit
Yeah,
odd doing podcasting while the sun is up.
I know. I do all my best work at night.
I've heard.
Yeah, it's all
I've heard.
solo work. But anyway.
Yeah. Mate, we've got a heap of news on today.
Yeah, it's great. No massive stories, but lots of small stories that we're going to cover because we like to keep our listeners up to date with everything that's going on in rugby league.
Exactly. It's news from all over the world, not just
Yeah.
Australia. So we're not insular.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We're a podcast of the entire world.
That's right. So I think we should start off with the biggest news we have first.
Yeah.
Moses Mbai looks like he's going to be moving to hooker at the West Tigers.
Nice.
This
Nice.
has come about because the swap deal, which I was hopeful for,
Yeah.
but largely didn't think it was going to work,
Yeah.
between Tigers Paul Momirovski and the Storm's Harry Grant, got turned down by the NRL because essentially it would put the Storm over the salary cap by about 16,000 or something like that.
Well, that doesn't sound like the Storm at all. Um, oh man, why am I getting a phone call? I'm not answering it. They can go
Oh,
away.
mate, you got to.
I'm not answering it. I don't know the number. I've got no idea who the number is, and I don't answer numbers I don't know. Hey,
Oh, man, you had to.
if it was
We
someone
had a rule and you broke it.
yeah, I did. I broke it. If it was someone I knew, I'd answer it. I've got no
Nah,
idea.
man, answering the ones you don't know, that's the big one.
Yeah.
That's where the gold is. We,
See,
we just lost 10 minutes of podcasting time. We now have to fill with random inane banter.
I know we're going to have to talk about rugby league. This is fucked. Um,
Well, speaking of fucked,
yes.
Moses and Mbai playing hooker.
Yeah. Well, when you consider that his best football last year was in the centres, and that the West Tigers are now going into the season with a guy who's a utility player that will be playing at hooker because their main hooker is injured and their backup hooker is dealing with all sorts of other issues. Like, it's not a real good place to be.
You would have thought last year when Jacob Little got injured and the
Mm.
Tigers knew that Robbie Farah was retiring, that they would have thought, let's make finding a hooker a priority right now so that we've got one when the season proper starts next year. Give ourselves like 7 months or so to get ourselves a genuine nine for next year. Instead, they've sat on their hands and done fuck all.
Yeah, but to be fair, I mean, it was only 7 months. I mean, they need a little bit more time. They like to move at a different pace there at the West Tigers under Potato. So I'm sure they'll have it all sorted out in 2 or 3 years' time. They'll have their hookers sorted out and it'll be good.
The thing that gets me is the fact that, I mean, the thing that's synonymous between the West Tigers
Mhm.
and the hooker position
Mhm.
is the number nine. You
Yeah,
thought it was pretty clear what they had to do. Let's sort out the nine. We've got to get the nine right. And no, we're not going to bother this year.
yeah,
Moses Mbai is he would work as a hooker with a strong pack around him.
hmm
Tigers don't have a strong pack, and so it's not the worst pack. It's not the strongest. It's not one of the eight best packs, and
no,
so it means that at least half the games this year, even more than that, the Tigers are going to be on the back foot up front, and you can't have utility back filling in at hooker when you're going to have a team that's going to get dominated up front. That's
well,
why Farah was handy. He could get him on the front foot. He could do that sort of stuff. But
yeah.
this is not going to work.
I think you need to look at it in a more positive light. The West Tigers have the most expensive hooker in the NRL.
Well, yeah. I wouldn't say most expensive. I would say most absurdly overpriced.
Yeah, there is that way to look at it as well, I guess.
Yeah, he's about $800,000 over his asking price for that position.
I tell you what, he'll make a good first grader one day.
Oh man. I honestly don't know what they were thinking. Because
Did they?
this is the thing that irritates me is that Isaac Luke came off contract and he was looking, actually asking around, looking for a club, and fans are saying, "Come to the West Tigers," and he said, "I'll go anywhere if anyone wants to get in touch with me."
Mm,
He was delivered on their lap, and they
yeah,
went, "Well, let's get a centre."
yeah. And then they were like, "Oh, let's not get the best centre in the entire world. Let's get someone that another club doesn't want."
Yeah. Oh, it's. I'm not saying they didn't need a centre. They did, but at the same time, you've got to get your spine sorted. You've got to
Yeah,
get your
yeah,
forward sorted. They're your two priorities more than anything else. And to have Isaac Luke was such a perfect option because he was just looking for a 1 year deal,
hmm
which is all the Tigers would have needed him for. Because
hmm
Little was going to come back midway through this season. And so you could have Isaac Luke sitting on the bench when he comes back, and they could do 40 minutes each, help Little sort of ease back into the game and not run the risk of him getting injured again. And they destroyed it. And then another player came on, and that was Cameron King.
yeah,
He was
yeah.
looking for a club, and Tigers stood around and well, seeing what sort of pictures the clouds make in the sky, and Cronulla went and signed Cameron King.
And it's not like, I mean, we've seen some pretty decent hookers moving around in the off season and even going into like the free agency period last year. It's not like there weren't some pretty good replacements around. Like they knew Farrell was leaving. They knew it. They knew
Yeah,
it early last year. Why didn't they sort this out? They're just I think that they're possibly the worst run club in the game. Like,
I could not argue with it. The Titans are probably very, very close.
yep.
But Danny Levi, another player. I mean, he's played
Yeah.
4 tests for New Zealand. He was available.
Coruscant, like the Panthers got Coruscant, when he come off contract. And this is at a point where the West Tigers knew they needed a hooker for the following season. There's so many hookers that have been trading places, and
Yeah, I
the
mean,
West Tigers sat there with their thumb up their ass the whole time.
Wade Egan,
Yep.
Lance
Another one.
Peters went over to the Warriors. It's just insane. So, I don't know. At this stage, I would even accept, begrudgingly, Andrew McCulloch as the hooker at the West Tigers over Moses and because at least he knows the job.
Yeah, he's a first grade hooker,
Yeah.
and I say that as in he has first grade experience of playing hooker. It's crazy to think that, at points we might see Benji Marshall playing at hooker,
Well,
and that's ridiculous.
it is worth noting that Moses Mbai has played hooker
Yeah.
5 times.
Uh-huh.
The first time was the 2014 Grand Final,
Yeah.
which he lost 30-6,
hmm
and then 4 times in 2017 for the Bulldogs. So against Brisbane, lost 42-12. Against Penrith, lost 16-8. Against Parramatta, lost 20-4, and against South, lost 28-14. So he's yet to win a game after 5 cracks at hooker.
Yeah, but he's due for a win.
It augurs well for the Tigers, and he has this stints at hooker every 3 years, and loses.
Yeah, and you know what? You know what it shows? He hasn't got a position because he keeps getting moved around.
He does. The only position where he's had, he's been consistently set in the position and has a winning record is in the halves at halfback and at 5/8.
Yeah.
He's had 7 wins and 6 losses at centre, but that's neither here nor there. His record in the halves is much stronger.
Yeah.
And so I dare say they're looking at this year as being the year where he's just filling in wherever he can, and next year he's going to take over at number 6 from Benji Marshall. But if that's the case, why sign Billy Walters?
Yeah. It doesn't it makes no sense at all. Like you sort of look at their moves and the players they've got, the players they've missed out on and stuff, and you're like, there doesn't seem to be a plan here. They seem to be just going along and trying to grab opportunities as they pop up in front of them, but there's no long-term plan. Like, the main plan should have been, we need a hooker. Robbie Farris told us he's retiring. And they didn't do it.
No. And they're going to try and manufacture a hooker, and that's going to work well.
But at least they've got Luciano Leilua. Good signing, Potato.
Maybe they should make him hooker.
Why not? He'd be the biggest hooker in the history of the game outside of Kieran Cunningham.
Well, that's true. Now on to some more positive news.
Yep.
Ash Taylor really, 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 really wants to play footy now because he's a dad.
Nice. Cool. You know what they should do? They should give him $1 million for the privilege.
I'm going to ask you this question.
Yes.
If Ash Taylor has another really dud season, and I'm not saying as bad as last year, okay, but one season where he's still not that good and the Titans are still struggling and they fail to get outside the bottom four, say.
Yeah.
Who will sign him next year?
Well, is this his last year contracted?
I think this is his last year on contract.
Man, that's a really good question. Like, on form that he's shown, and when you think about the clubs around the league and who needs halfbacks, like, I can't see anyone signing him, hey?
It's the only team that's going to need a 7 with experience is the Warriors, because I think they're losing Blake Green at the end of the year.
Yeah, and Blake Green, what's he? He's 35, I think, 36, something like that.
43 or something.
That
He's been around a while.
Yeah. Wouldn't Ash Taylor be the most Warriors signing that's ever triggered?
Oh, he so would.
Like, they're going, and I haven't confirmed it yet, but they're getting Ben Murdoch-Masila next year, which is a weird signing. They spent the world record for a rugby league transfer on Sam Tompkins. There's just so many dumb moves that the Warriors make. Really, really dumb moves. That would be such a Warriors move. I kind of hope it happens. Not for Warriors fans. They deserve better. But just, I don't know, for the spectacle of it all.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, this is what Ash Taylor has to do this year to remain on his salary and at that club that he's at the moment. Yeah. And that is Dally M Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Titans need to finish at least in the top 10 somewhere.
Yeah, I agree.
Other than that, he's looking at a pay cut in his next deal, and a savage one.
Say you're the Titans, right? And you've just come out of a season that was a train wreck. And the train wreck, let's be honest, it started when Ash Taylor didn't play football, and he's the highest paid player at the club by a long way. When Ash Taylor comes off contract, you run, don't you? You run in the opposite direction. You just say to him, listen, Ash, we're parting ways now.
I agree. I tell you what, it does worry me because as a Tigers fan, our halfback is possibly one of the cheapest halfbacks on the market, other than any rookies that have come through in the last 2 or 3 years. They haven't had a deal upgrade yet.
Mm-hmm.
And if Ash Taylor comes off contract and after a crap year, and the Titans say, sorry, Ash, we don't want you anymore, they're going to have his money available to spend.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's the Gold Coast. We know that the players in that player poll, they said that was the number one destination.
Yeah, they want to be there. Tell you what, if I was running the Titans, I'd say for 1 year, I'd say, Cameron Smith, how about you come up here and be a halfback for 1 year? We'll give you $1 million.
Ooh. Man, that would have to be tempting to him.
Because they need someone like that along the lines to change the culture within the players, within the club, to try and give them that culture of success and hard work and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I think the problem they've really got right now, and we'll see how the coach goes, but I think their main problem right now is that since Mal Meninga turned up to fix the club, they've only got worse. And, like, they're another team a little bit like the West Tigers. What's the plan? You know?
I think for the Titans, their plan is to survive, because that's what the last one didn't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. But with Ash Taylor, if they re-sign Ash Taylor, even if they re-sign him at 40% of what he's on right now, so he'd be the cheapest halfback in the league at that point. If they re-sign him at $400,000, just write the Titans off because they're making stupid decisions.
Yeah. I just want to have a quick gander here at the Titans squad.
Mm.
Yeah, most of their players are coming off contract between the end of this year and the end of next year. I wouldn't be surprised if the team that the Titans have in 2022 looks almost completely different to the one they're going to have even at the start of next year.
Yeah.
I see a massive broom going through that place very shortly.
Well, and they need it because last year they just gave up. They've got talent. There's no doubt about that, but they just didn't put in. And you just can't. I can't redeem an entire team that does that. There's one or two players I might hold on to, but outside of that, if they got rid of every single player in that Titans team, it'd be a good thing.
Yeah, look, I think Brimson, very, very good player. Fatuiaka, he's a beast of a prop. Tyrone Peachy's an absolute standout player. Nathan Pete's great, number 9. And someone the Tigers should chase because they've already got Mitch Rain there as well, the Titans.
Well, that's the thing. Why don't the Tigers go to the Titans and say, you're going to have to do a clean out anyway? You got 2 first-grade hookers you're paying for. What club does that? And just, just try something.
Go to them and say, how's about a swap? Nathan Pete's for Moses and Bai. Because the way I look at it too is Moses and Bai can play in at centre, given that they've tried Tyrone Peachy there and failed because he's not an out-and-out centre.
Yeah.
He's just an X factor you bring on off the bench and just let him do whatever the hell he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So put him by at centre, or you can play, or you don't need to put him at fullback now that you've got Brimson there. You can put him in the halves if you need to.
I would say this if I was the Titans, though, from the Titans side. Bai is the absolute opposite of what we should be looking at.
True, but he's an upgrade on Ash Taylor because at least he turns up and plays.
Well, that is a positive. He does turn up to play. Did they ever work out what he was allergic to, by the way, during the State of Origin camp?
I think it was peanuts.
Really? It was just peanuts?
Yeah, anaphylaxis.
Wow, that's crazy.
How's that? Even pronounced it properly first time around.
Yeah, he did.
Nailed that. Other player movement news, there's a bit of it around coming from the Sharks and the Roosters. Josh Morris really, 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 really wants to play alongside his brother Brett at the Roosters. And he even made a comment saying, how would they feel if they wanted to go and play with their brother or something like that? And I thought, you've done that at 2 clubs already, mate.
Yeah. I mean, can we literally cut the cord? He shared a room with him for 9 months. I think he can get by playing at another club for a little while. It's not like he's separated by the fucking Berlin Wall. He's 15 kilometres up the road, you dickhead.
He's just 1 hour on the train.
Yeah.
I've done it. I used to live in Sutherland. I used to work at Bondi. It doesn't take much effort. You just sit on a train. You can text him on the train.
FaceTime him. FaceTime him, brother. Hey, remember that time we shared a womb? Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Oh, fuck, I'm really missing you still, though. It's like, come on, grow up.
I'm wondering why. I'm wondering if it's actually Josh that's in Cronulla at the moment. Maybe it's Brett that's down there.
Would anyone know?
No, they wouldn't know.
It's a weird one.
Other news there is, and the reason why that move's going ahead, obviously, is because the Sharks have got 3 first-grade centres and only 2 spots to fill, really. Yeah. And the Roosters have only got 1 centre and one semi-vacancy, I guess. Mm-hmm. So much so, they're talking about having Angus Crichton playing at centre, which he would do okay, and he's the right sort of build for it and runs the right sort of line, so he'd work okay there.
I heard Brad Fittler suggesting that Mitch Orbison might play there as well.
Well, he's done a fair bit of it as well.
Yeah.
But I think Orbison should probably just be a back rower from now on.
Yeah.
So I'd prefer to see Crichton in the centres, but that's what's going on there because the Sharks have got Jesse Ravian back at the club as well as Bronson Cherry.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's a little bit going on between the two clubs because they got Kyle Flanagan from the Sharks, and that was a big, big signing. And the Sharks would have been really disappointed with that one. And then there's talk that, and Bronson Cherry has said that he has turned down a contract extension with the Sharks that was going to be a 5-year contract extension. But he will see out the remainder of his contract. And there's a lot of talk that he will go and play for the Roosters. And now you've got Morris that's saying, well, I want to go and play for the Roosters now to play with my brother. And so there's a little bit going on there, right? And
yeah.
and we talked about this before the podcast. Did another fantastic podcast before the podcast.
Sensational.
Really good. So if I'm the Sharks, and I want Morris to stay, right? They're about to start the season. You can't just say a couple of weeks out from the season start, oh yeah, I want to go elsewhere, even though I'm under contract. I don't care about feelings. He signed a contract.
Yeah.
If I'm the Sharks, I say, listen, we will let you have Morris, and we will pay his entire salary this year. But you have to take Matt Moylan off our hands and take his salary as well. And that's the only way we're going to let this entire thing play out. Because Moylan is injured right now. He's been injured the entire offseason. He's had I think he had a calf injury, and I think now he might be a hamstring or something. So his entire offseason, despite not playing games, he's been injured.
Yeah.
If they can get him off their books, I think it would be worth the tax to lose Morris.
Oh, definitely, because they've already got a centre ready to take his spot anyway.
Yeah.
So that would be a huge deal for the Sharks.
Yeah,
Would the Roosters say yes to it?
Well, they would have freed up a bit of money from
Latrell Mitchell leaving.
Going, yeah. And then Cronk left as well.
Yeah.
So they should have a little bit of money there. And you're getting Morris for free. That's a bloody good deal.
Yeah, but then you're paying for Moylan.
Well, can you justify it as, and look, I would guess that Morris isn't on massive money. I think he'd be on reasonable money, put it that way. And obviously Moylan is on ridiculous money.
I'll take a guess. I'll say Josh Morris is on about 400,000 or 500,000, and Moylan will be on 800.
Yeah. So as the Roosters, could you say, look, we're getting Morris. We're basically, by paying out Moylan's entire contract, we're getting Morris and Moylan for about 400 grand each.
Yeah.
I think you could make that justification, especially if you think to yourself, okay, we'll get Moylan fit, we'll give him time to get ready and stuff. He might be a handy backup in the halves. I think that maybe they could justify that, but they would have to take him off of the Sharks' hands forever. It couldn't be any sort of deal where the Sharks pay a cent for Moylan. I wonder if they could make that happen. Because if I'm the Sharks, I'd do that for two reasons. Number one, I get rid of Moylan. He's done, in my opinion. And number two, I don't think the Sharks are going to win the premiership this year. So losing Morris, I don't think it's going to be the make or break for their premiership season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree too. So I reckon that's probably not a bad idea. I just wonder whether the Roosters would be that generous to the Sharks.
Yeah.
I think that's the sort of deal that the Sharks could put to the Tigers, and the Tigers would jump all over it and say, no. What you should do is say, we will give you Josh Morris, and we will give you Matt Moylan, and in return, we, the West Tigers, have to pay their salaries in full.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the Tigers would do.
Or they'd be like, you know what? I like this idea. We get Moylan and we get Morris, but we're having a problem. Man, we need to move somebody whose salary is about the same size as Luke Brooks's. Could you take Luke Brooks off our? It's like, yeah, I think we can do that.
But only if we can swap him with Sean Johnson. Sean Johnson
Yeah,
costs a bit more, but if you're
yeah.
happy to do that swap, we can make it work. Yeah, we'll do that. That seems fine. That seems fine.
It's all cool because we'll back end Johnson's contract. So when he's like 37, he'll be on like $1 million. It'll work out great.
I really, really hope that Justin Potato doesn't listen to this because he's sitting there going, man, he's right. He's got a notepad down. These are great
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah, he's scribbling away right now. See, I think you and me should be running the West Tigers, hey? I think we'd get them back on track.
I'll get my daughter to run them.
Yeah. You get I reckon you could get like a below average fantasy rugby league player on the Supercoach or NRL CEO or whatever, and they would run the Tigers better.
Yep. I've got no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Now, up in Brisbane,
Mm-hmm.
they've got a young player there who they've recruited from the Reds rugby union side up there, Isaiah Parisi.
Yep.
He's been charged with multiple drug offences and has been dumped by the Broncos club. It's nice that the Broncos are starting to show some sort of morality. I mean, if when it comes to other drugs like alcohol, related ones,
Mm-hmm.
and people get aggressive and want to start fights in other countries,
Mm.
they're a little bit hesitant. But when it comes to these other different types of drugs, they're quick to bring the hammer down.
Yeah, I would just like the Broncos to go 5.5 minutes without someone getting arrested for something. Hey, it'd be cool. It'd be really nice change.
Given the amount of drama that's going on at the club, how much of this has to come back to the lack of leadership from the coach? Because you never really heard of stuff like this under Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, well, I guess there's that does come into it. I mean,
the night on the pokies before the game when they got absolutely fucked by Parramatta in the finals.
yeah, and there's I guess the coach sets the tone for the entire club, and the tone right now at the Brisbane Broncos is pretty terrible. And, they got what they paid for in the coach. I still don't understand why they thought he was the golden boy. Everything that he's shown so far has proven that he's not all that good of a coach or a man manager he acted like a drama queen for most of last year.
That tizzy with Wayne Bennett in the media. And Bennett just sat back and went, I'm just going to sit back and smile. That's all he did.
He let Jason Demetrio bloody do most of the heavy lifting in that.
Yeah. And Seabold was squirming and writhing around everywhere and just made an absolute dick of himself. It was the most painful, ridiculous behaviour I've seen from an adult in a long time, especially one that's coaching a professional football team.
Yeah, and when the players see that. The players talk about that. And when that's going on and the coach has his own friggin' drama that he's wrapped up in, you know that he's occupied with it. So you just go and do whatever you want.
Yep. So some more big news here.
Yeah.
Which I haven't told you about.
Oh, yeah, this one, a new one for me. All right.
The naming rights for the State of Origin series are now up for sale after sponsor Holden collapsed during the week.
Oh, yeah. So I've got a few things about this to talk about. So first of all, we all knew Holden was going away. I don't know why it's become part of the media cycle in the last week, because we knew that Holden was done and dusted like years ago. When they got rid of the tariffs and stuff on imports, we knew what was going to happen to the Australian car industry. I said during the week, does this mean that people, instead of having their Holden and they get a Chevrolet badge and stick that on it, Will they be driving Chevrolets and putting Holdens on it? So that's how we spot douchebags from now on.
My concern is that every single Holden that's out there now may actually become a limited edition and may actually become a increase in value.
Probably will. You know, the other thing too, like the best part was when the Australian government was giving literally billions of dollars to these car manufacturers that were in Australia, and then all of a sudden they'd sponsor the state of origin. It's like, hang on a second, you're getting billions of dollars and then you're spending millions of it on the car manufacturers. I remember my uncle once saying, like, anytime he sees he saw a Holden ad, and they'd say, like, oh, you get a free 5-year warranty. It's like, no, it's not free. The taxpayers are paying for that. So, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see who takes over the state of origin naming rights. There will already be a bunch of companies lining up for it. It's the most watched television event in Australia every year. So I don't think it's a big problem, but it'll
it's more of a question of who will take it over, because it'll have to be a decent sized company because it's going to cost a fair bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder who's out there that would be a really cool company to sponsor the state of origin.
I've got one.
Okay.
It's British.
Yeah.
The plumbing company.
The plumbing company.
Welcome to the plumbing company state of origin.
They're very particular about what they sponsor. What about Totally Wicked? The Totally Wicked state of origin.
There we go.
That would be.
I'm just trying to think of really inappropriate sponsors.
Yeah, so am I. State of origin. What about Australian Oranges? Sponsor the state of origin.
That's not a bad idea, after a lot of these areas have been hit by bushfires and stuff.
Yeah. Although I do think we get a lot of our oranges from Brazil now.
Probably.
I know that's what most of our fucking juice companies use, Brazilian oranges.
I'd like to see Batlow Apple sponsoring the state of origin. That'd be brilliant.
See, I would say I'd like a strawberry manufacturer to sponsor the state of oranges. See? State of oranges. It's the way
it just works.
Just rolls off the tongue. The problem is it would completely destroy state of origins like marketing, because it would be forever known as state of oranges.
Yes.
It's great.
We couldn't have strawberries though, because they do have a bit of a clouded past.
Yeah, you'd have to pull a pin on that.
That was tidy.
Yeah, I'm good with stuff like that.
Maybe people can tweet to our podcast account, Fergo Freak Pod, with some ideas of who would make good sponsors for the State of Origin series.
That's a good idea, because we don't want it just to be another betting company,
No.
We don't need another betting company with a fucking brand new name, some pastel fucking logo, and a couple of people talking at you, telling you about your betting options.
Exactly. Tell you what, with all the coronavirus going on, all the fear there, maybe it could be some company that sells antibiotics.
What about just Corona?
Corona?
The Corona state of origin.
Yeah. The advertising could be the Corona state of origin. It'll infect you like nothing else.
Yeah.
Or just infectious.
The Corona, it's. I tell you what, it's a catchy name.
Oh boy, you're on fire.
Yeah. I'm into my 1.5 coffees in.
You're just warming up.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, some other news here, which I did see you tweet about. Mm-hmm. Old mate Paul Kent says that the Bears should be reinstated, but this time up in Brisbane, because of the stupid scheduling of the Perth Nines somehow proved that WA doesn't need an NRL team.
Yeah, well, look, any time that you can resurrect a dead Sydney club no one gave a stuff about when it died and move them to Brisbane, you got to do it.
Where they won't give a stuff about it either, because it won't be from their area.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know that people in Brisbane are crying out to support the North Sydney Bears. It's just, I don't know what it is about the Bears. It would make more sense if people were saying, let's get the Newtown Jets back into the NRL in some capacity. I could at least see some tiny little reason why you could make a case for that. Not the North Sydney Bears, though.
Paul Kent's got a bit of a penchant for the Bears. He's sort of pushed his bandwagon a few times in the past, I believe.
Yeah.
But just as I said about that clown from the Courier fail last week, I'll say about Paul Kent on this matter, you're an idiot. It's having a team in Perth just makes sense in so many different areas. Yeah. The fact that people are willing to write it off so quickly over an atrociously scheduled Nines tournament is the dumbest crap I've ever heard.
I agree. And I mean, if Perth is good enough to play a few games a season there, and Perth is good enough to play a State of Origin there, and Perth is good enough to play a Nines tournament there, even though they stuffed it right up, but it's not good enough to play NRL there on a regular basis. It makes no sense to me.
No, it's completely devoid of sense, these comments. That's just utterly stupid. Go away, Paul Kent. Go back to NRL 360 and ask people to give you questions that you don't plan to read or answer. That's what you do good.
You know what? And this might play into the next thing we talk about. There's just this cycle of old cunts that say dumb shit, and they all work for the same companies, and they all just do the rounds of the same fucking people talking about the same dumb shit. And it's great for us because it lets us break through. It lets people that are in the new sort of rugby league outlets come out, and people are flocking to them, and they're leaving behind these whinging old idiots that, you know, can't see past 1982. And I'm just sick of it, and everyone's sick of it. And you've got to wonder when they start looking at their bottom line and start thinking to themselves, man, we've got to do something different here because we're putting out utter trash and people are turning away from it.
Yeah. I've got to say too, it's always the Bears that are the team that people, you know, these idiots want brought back.
Yeah.
Why doesn't anyone say, bring back Annandale?
Glebe.
Oh, well, they're kind of back now, but yeah, Annandale's not back. Bring back Annandale. Where's that chant?
And why is it always a Sydney club?
Yeah, that's true too.
Like, why isn't it a thing of like,
bring back the Rams?
But just, if you look at Paul Kent's argument, right? Okay, Perth, in his opinion, it's not the time. Okay, so let's bring back a Sydney club in Brisbane. What the fuck is he talking about? Why not bring back the Chargers or the Crushers or something?
Yeah, he's trying to appeal to the North Shore clowns who don't watch the game anymore by giving them a team to support that won't play out of their area. So they won't support them anyway.
You know what? North Sydney, right, they were supported by an old supporter base when they're in the comp. Most of their fans are dead.
It's just crazy. I'm a historian. Okay, I love those initial 9 teams or 8, especially the 8 teams that first started the competition. And yeah, it'd be absolutely fantastic if they were still around today. But they're not.
Yep.
And we've got a competition that works at the moment the way it is. So I can't see any reason why there should be any more teams introduced in Sydney. I also don't see any reason why we need to cut any. I think right now we have the perfect number. No more teams in Sydney and no less. Just leave it as it is. Because over the next 20, 30 years, the population is going to keep growing there. They'll be fine. They don't need any more teams.
So, but who would you move anyone?
Would I move anyone?
Yeah.
Not, I would. I've always been opposed to cutting or relocating sides.
Yeah.
If I was going to relocate anyone, it'd be a team that could relocate to an area outside Sydney but could still access their previous area. And to me, the only teams you could do that with would be Manly to the Central Coast,
Hmm.
because they've still got the Manly area they can come back to and forth. The other one would have been Cronulla around the Illawarra region, but because the Dragons had that merger there, it kind of shat on that plan a fair bit.
What about the West Tigers to Picton?
Well, I don't see how that's any real difference, to be honest.
I feel
Look,
like I'd rather live in Picton.
I've long said that even coming from the Balmain side of things, that the West Tigers should set up a base at either Liverpool or at
Mm.
Campbelltown and just say we're going to play everything here and just have one or two marquee games every year at Leichhardt Oval, because that's all they should do.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I can't see too much more than that.
See, the only team right now that I would relocate is I would take the Manly Sea Eagles and fling them into the sun.
Into the sun.
Yeah.
With the asbestos or not?
Yeah, oh, with the asbestos and everything. In fact, all of Manly, the entire region, you just get a big backhoe, pick it up, and I don't know, get Superman to fling it into the sun. Maybe, no, you know who could fling it into the sun? The Green Lantern. He's got he's got some form there. Yeah.
I'm starting to get an understanding as to why you're purchasing a lot of this superhero stuff online.
Because I'm awesome.
Because maybe this is part of some plot you've got to segregate Manly from Earth.
There's that possibility.
I assume you're going to go over there with a Thor hammer and just smash it on the ground several times as hard as you can until the Manly part of Sydney breaks off from the mainland.
Well, I tell you what, I was playing with my Thor hammer last night, and then I looked at Twitter, and everyone's freaking out about the electrical storm, and I'm like, man, these people need to settle down.
You're just playing with a hammer.
Yeah, just playing with my hammer, you know.
As you do.
Yeah, I was playing with my hammer, and I was polishing my helmet.
Oh, that's I mean that's the sort of thing you do in your downtime.
Yeah, it's between that and gripping my lightsaber with two hands as well. I like doing that.
That's what she said. So I've got a bit of world news here.
Yeah.
English Rugby League Ben Thaler has been stood down from refereeing games in England and is being investigated for insert rumour here. There's an article up on the BBC at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and it says Ben Thaler is shocked by the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Suspended Super League referee Ben Thaler is shocked by the Rugby Football League's investigation into him, according to his lawyer. The 38-year-old has not officiated since he was in charge of Hull FC's win over Leeds Rhinos on February 2nd. The RFL suspended Thaler pending the outcome of an internal investigation. The reasons for the inquiry have not been disclosed. Ben is treating this investigation seriously, Richard Kramer said. He is shocked by what has happened. He has an impeccable record since joining the RFL in 2006. He wants to get back refereeing and wants to get back quickly, Kramer added to the BBC. That's it.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I've got no idea what is supposed to have happened. I was looking at Twitter a couple of nights ago, and pretty much no one was saying anything. It's a weird one to suspend a referee like that.
All I can say is this is the difference between England and Australia with the media around rugby league.
Yeah.
Is that if this happened in Australia, the actual details of what went on would be known by everyone, or there would be rumours suggesting what it was by everyone all around the place. But in England, no one knows a word.
Yeah, and I think that if it happened in Australia too, like if there was no word about what had happened, the journos would just make it up anyway.
Exactly right.
There'd be staff writers who'd be writing their asses off, and there'd be a complete breakdown of why in 5 years' time the sport won't exist because of this incident, and then it'd turn out that, the referee in question was just had to step down because they'd been in China in the Wuhan province and they just wanted to be careful about the coronavirus, something stupid like that. I don't know what's happened with Ben Taylor. Hopefully it is resolved really, really quickly because whatever it is, it's obviously really serious. It's a worry, but they're obviously right on top of it, which is good news.
Yeah. Speaking of other big news over there in England, there's another press release come from the Catalan Dragons.
Oh, nice.
Catalan Dragons has assured Super League that a thorough investigation has been carried out following an incident which took place at the Stade Gilbert Brutus on Saturday evening. It was reported that 2 Castleford supporters were told to remove rainbow flags during Saturday's fixture in Perpignan. The club's investigation has found that one person was asked to remove a flag because it was covering an advertising board. Footage shows that the flag was not taken off the supporter. Rainbow flags are welcome at all Super League grounds in line, subject to stadium regulations. However, when flags or banners of any kind are draped over advertising, hoardings, club security staff can ask for them to be removed on health and safety grounds. It's vital to our health and safety that the advertising can be seen.
You got to see it. Have to see it. I know whenever I see an advertising board that isn't flogging alcohol or betting, I start feeling nauseous, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I start vomiting whenever I see a flag draped over a sponsor show. I'm going, something doesn't feel right.
100%. And, you know, how big would a flag have to be to properly cover some of the signage we see at grounds?
Exactly.
It'd have to be like 50 feet long.
There's clearly a commercial aspect to consider regarding club sponsors as well. The RFL has also informed Super League that it will be carrying out its own independent investigation. The findings of that will be released in due course. The RFL replied, "We thank Catalans for instigating their investigation, but we will need time to consider all the available evidence before reaching any conclusions."
Okay,
oh my God.
There's a few things to unpack. It's really making a mountain out of a molehill, let's be honest about it, right? But remember last year we saw somebody have a sign removed from them at a Dragons game?
Yeah.
And like we talked about it a little bit and said that it was probably just down to one person thinking they were doing the right thing by the club in their job, in their capacity as an attendee, an attendant, or whatever you want to call them. I do see a point where, you know, if you're a club and you've got sponsors, on the signage, they need to be visible. So I can see a point there. And if the flag wasn't physically removed from the person, that's a good sign. And the fact that they're saying, look, bring your flags, that's all good, that's a good sign. I think that this is probably just a lot of oversensitivity, is my guess. But at the same time, I actually put out a message, and it was just on open Twitter, to the person that had the flag removed and asked them if they wanted to come on the podcast and tell us what happened from their point of view. It would have been cool to have that happen. Didn't get a reply, unfortunately, but my guess is they probably got 100,000 replies on that day. But yeah, I feel like this is a lot of hot air about nothing, really.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's just nonsense.
Yeah. I'm glad that the Rugby Football League's doing an investigation, though, because it sounds like it warrants a second one.
I'm wondering if there's a correlation between the last two stories. Was Ben Thaler the person waving the flag?
Imagine if it was. So good. Oh, man.
We figured it out. We've uncovered it. So we've now saved the RFL from doing 2 investigations. They've just got to do 1 now.
Exactly. So I love the way that all of these corporate organisations, they're like, well, we've got to set up the committee to run an investigation, and then we do the investigation, and then someone else has to investigate the investigation. And it's like, oh, please, can we just fucking get on with life? Stop making jobs for yourselves, you pricks.
Exactly. Yeah. 2 days ago, we got a statement from the International Rugby League about the Tongan National Rugby League.
Yep.
At its board meeting on February 13, the directors carefully considered the position of Tonga National Rugby League, which has been suspended since October, in the light of wide-ranging consultation with stakeholders in the Tongan game. After that meeting, the board wrote to TNRL, advising them of the resolution passed at that meeting, which is to expel TNRL from the membership. There is a process within the IRL constitution for dealing with membership issues, which IRL is following. TNRL has 1 week to appeal the board's decision. Should it choose to do so, the matter will be decided by the members in general meeting. There will be no further comments until due constitutional process is completed. But what that's essentially saying is that Tonga has been kicked out of the International Rugby League.
Mm-hmm.
The Tongan Invitational 17 that took their place, which is exactly the same Tongan side, just with a different name for some odd reason. Mm-hmm. They will likely step in the Tongan Rugby League team's place at the World Cup, and everything will just go ahead as per usual, but for some reason they'll have to be called Invitational, which is just nonsense. But anyway, that's the situation.
Yeah, my guess is they've got to kick out the old Tongan Rugby League to then be able to bring in the new one. I don't know that the new one's been set up yet. I don't think it has. But obviously there's an organisation running there. I mean, the player, everything's running as normal in terms of the international team. I wonder the effect this is happening on the local Tongan Rugby League, though, and what's happening there in Tonga, because that will be overlooked by a lot of people in the media. So hopefully there's not too much disruption there, but it needs to be sorted out. It should be sorted out before the World Cup, you would think. I mean, the World Cup's at the end of next year, so surely it'll be sorted out by then, you'd think.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
Now, I've got something very, very exciting.
Yeah.
It's to do with the story we mentioned already earlier. And I didn't bring it up then because we're having a conversation, but this really needs to be brought up and have its own sort of separate moment in the show.
Mm-hmm.
James Hood Ornament's written an article.
Oh my goodness.
That has quotes in it.
And I know the words you're saying individually, but together they don't make any sense.
I know. I actually had to look at it a few times to see if he was quoting himself while he was talking.
Yeah.
But it was actually quoting a player who spoke to him.
Wow. That's almost like what a journalist would do.
Yeah, it's basically journalism.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so...
Must have been a nice change for him, eh?
Well, I don't know if it was a nice change or not, because it would have meant that he had to go and actually do some, either ring up someone or go and see them.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to just type, 190 words and go, that's an article, send.
True.
I mean, this time he's actually had to go and talk and listen and then type it up. That's 3 jobs, man.
It must be interesting for this article compared to the rest of them, because the tag on this one would have to be tagged as non-fiction. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's very, very exciting news. I'm hoping the Hood on it keeps this form up, because I tell you what, he's getting on the front foot early.
Yeah, it's a good start to the year that he's written an actual piece of journalism. And I'm guessing it was about Josh Morris whinging that he's not a Sydney Rooster right now, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just all talk of, I spoke to the boys and my brother this, and we played together here, there, and everywhere, and blah, blah, blah. The content is pretty much boring as batshit, but people, I urge you to read it. If you give it heaps of hits, he might get inspired and think, oh, people like it when I speak to people. It might just prompt him into being a proper journalist instead of that horsemonger, that arsehole shit he was doing before about Latrell Mitchell, which is just all horse shit.
Do you reckon it would be like, because obviously he spends many hours a day just scowling at himself in the mirror. Do you reckon that if he got heaps of hits for an article with the actual quotes in it, it'd be like that scene in the Joker where the Joker's like frowning, but he puts his fingers in his mouth and he forces it to look like he's smiling, like just because he doesn't know how to do it himself.
I don't know. So I think with James Hooper, if he sat there and looked in a mirror and then went to speak,
yeah,
he'd start crying because he'd think someone's yelling at him, and then before realizing it's just him talking to himself.
Yeah, must be really good.
You're a good-looking man, Joe. Oh, stop yelling at me! And he'd run away and hide somewhere under his bed, probably.
He's going in the right direction, though. Which
He
is
good work, James. We're definitely not going to criticise you here. We're very proud of the effort you've done. You've taken a big step. You've done well, little fella. Not condescending at all.
Keep this up.
He's a good boy.
Be a good journalist one day.
Keep it up, mate. Keep it up. I think that's pretty much all the news we had there.
Yeah, there's not much else I can think of. There was a little bit of an article I saw where Israel Folau wasn't going to be involved in the opposed training session that the Catalan Dragons were doing with the Sydney Roosters, and I think that's a smart move by him, and by everyone really. No one needs the distractions. Boyd Cordner is out of the World Club Challenge. I saw that news earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know who's over there for the Roosters for the World Club Challenge. That game's on the 23rd, I believe.
Yes, 6:45 on Sunday morning.
Yeah, it's a non-event in rugby league, let alone the rest of the sporting world. We'll do an episode. We might do a full World Club Challenge history episode next week leading into it. Is it next week or is it this weekend?
This weekend.
Jesus.
And it's the Roosters versus St Helens.
Yeah.
That's actually the same two teams who played in the very first World Club Challenge back in 1976.
World Club Challenge history episode finished.
And on that occasion, the Roosters won 25-2.
Nice. So yeah, and I can't think of too much else. I saw a thing about in Sydney Morning Herald. They were saying how Tyrone May is going to be playing football this year, and it's like, of course he will. These fucking clubs can't help themselves. They embrace these.
I was going to say, was it a redemption story about him? That's due.
Yeah, we're ready for a redemption story. They'll talk about how he feeds puppy dogs or some bullshit. And yeah, that's about it that's happening in rugby league at the moment. It's been a little bit quiet, but I don't think that's too bad of a thing, to be honest.
No. Well, this weekend we see a lot of trials being played as well, and next weekend, the NRL website will be live streaming them. So if you've got a pass or a membership, whatever it is that they've got there, you can log on there and watch them for free.
I heard a dirty rumor that we might be doing a live stream during one of those trial games. But it's not going to
spread that around.
I don't know. Maybe if you go to nrlrumours.com.
That was tidy.
Yeah. I like to. You got to cross promote everything. That's how it works these days. I learned that from Kim Kardashian.
Actually, I was going to say there was one other bit of news.
Yeah.
The International Rugby League have now appointed their new independent chairperson.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Barkley. I don't know who he is, but the reason why I wanted to bring this up is they actually had 3 positions become available, I believe, and they advertised them last year. And I applied for one of those positions, knowing full well that I wouldn't get it. Yeah. But I applied anyway, and I made a serious application, not a joke one.
Mm.
And they got back to me and said, "Yeah, sorry, but you're not the sort of person that we're looking for." I was like, "What more do you want?"
Yeah, well, I mean, as a rugby league historian, a rugby league statistician, somebody that actually has all of the international results and lineups on a website that you cultivate, somebody that's a writer, somebody that's involved in in doing audio and things like that.
Well, I was going to say author and media.
Yeah, I mean, you just sound like the complete opposite of what they were after, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I, I would guess. I would guess that all of these positions are going to people based in England, funnily enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird.
Wayne Pearce has taken over from Peter Beattie on the board.
Oh, Piercy, nice. Well,
Good
that's
work,
good.
Junior.
He'll be able to go to all them junkets.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's other than that, it's Deputy Chair is Troy Grant and Emmy Young. So, I don't know who these people are, but good luck to you. Hope you do a better job than the last mob.
Yeah, and it's just one thing to the International Rugby League. Really nice that you've got the Rugby League International Federation website up and running, and it's crap. And then you've got the International Rugby League website that is also up and running, which is also crap. It's cool that there's that confusion element there. I like that. Keep people, not that there's not enough confusion already about what rugby league and rugby union and rugby, let's have two separate websites and not know which one to go to and make them both crap. Just keep people on their toes. Really cool marketing idea. Very viral.
And both of them actually, when you first open them up, they both look identical.
Yeah, but then the way that you the thing that makes them similar to each other is the complete lack of information, which minimalistic they call that in the industry.
What's the URL for the current or the old website?
Let me find it because I did have it up earlier. I might have got rid of it.
It's rlif.com.
Okay. And
Makes
do you
sense.
have
Rugby League International Federation.com. So that's what it stands for. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the new one?
I think isn't it IRL.sport?
INTRL.sport.
INTRL.sport.
That'll catch on.
I'm just looking up another one. Just seeing what comes up when you put this one in. Come on. You know what they need to do? Right?
What's that?
They need to purchase the website address, internationalrl.com. Probably be able to get that for, I would say, less than $100,000.
US.
Oh, yeah, US.
Yeah.
Sure, the owner of that only deals in US dollars, Andrew. But it would be available.
Yeah, well, just so happens
that
I know someone who knows the person who owns that URL.
Nice.
So if the RLF wanted to have a conversation, want to have a dialogue with that person, call me. I'll get you connected.
You can sort them out.
I can sort them out. There will be a spotter's fee.
Yeah.
Definitely. It'd be just under $100,000 US.
Yeah, because you only deal in US dollars, Andrew.
That's right.
I would also say that there's probably some sort of deal that can be done on the price that would involve somebody working out a deal to get somebody involved with a job within the International Rugby League Federation. Just saying.
Well, you never know. I mean, if the spotter's fee comes out and they pay a bit more, then no one worry about the second part.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. I tell you, the other one they should get is rlworld9s.com. It just makes sense, is all I'm saying,
There is going to be a World Nines again, isn't there?
Probably in 17 years or so.
In England.
Yeah, in England. They'll do a worldwide search for a venue, and it'll just happen to be like, fucking Hunslet.
The Shay. They'll play it at the Shay.
Yeah.
Not saying the Shay's a bad venue, but that's where they'll play it.
I'm going to say the Shay's a bad venue. Fuck it. You shithole.
I don't mind the Shay. I'm saying that as someone who's never been there.
Yeah. Hey, you know what's really funny is when you put in IRL into Google. No,
Yeah.
there's no rugby league there at all. None, nothing, because their branding's been so terrible. I mean, they don't even know what website they're using. And then, you know, I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
The new online destination for International Rugby League is coming in 2020. Well, 2020 has come.
Yep. And it wasn't that impressive, apparently.
How much longer have we got to wait for?
Exactly. Tell you what, forget that one. You just go to internationalrl.com. I don't know. I've not been there, but I'm sure that it is very comprehensive.
I'll have a look right now. I can see right now, very comprehensive.
100,000 US dollars, and they have it forever. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. No strings attached.
No.
There you go.
Sometimes people step in as caretakers of these things. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So, have we had any emails?
You know what? I looked before, okay, and we didn't have any new emails. So I'm going to look again, because I'm always hopeful that our supporters, our followers, our listeners, I guess we should call them, are going to send something in. Turns out they haven't. Never mind.
Did we get any spam?
No spam. Although there was LinkedIn spam. Man,
LinkedIn spam.
Oh my goodness.
What were they telling us on LinkedIn?
It's just another person trying to tell us how to market shit. You know, there's always some idiot on LinkedIn saying, "Oh, you know, I see you could use some marketing," and it's like, no, you found me. It worked.
That's exactly right. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's pretty much it then.
Yes, we've done well in this episode, I reckon.
We've done very well.
The numbers are fantastic. Thank you for everybody that's listening. And the next episode, I think we'll do. What day is it today? Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the next one will be that bigger one that we were talking about. We're going to make it this one. We'll do that.
All right.
We'll have to find some time for that.
Okay. So I'll just press stop recording, and then I'll press record again. We'll do it again in about 3 minutes' time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what? I was talking last night with Katie and Julie, and they were talking about they had this idea for a podcast, and then I said, well, let's do it, and they made up 100 million excuses as to why they couldn't do it, and it wasn't good enough.
That's feeble.
Bullshit. I was disgusted.
Young people these days, what are we going to do with them?
I know. I said to them, like, the number one priority should be the podcast. Forget everything, family. Like, children, what? Just the podcast is number one.
That'll be right. Just give them a Mars bar and put them in the corner. They'll be fine.
You just do, you put them out the back in their cage and they're fine.
Put the chain on.
Oh, yeah, you got to chain them up.
Yeah, you need that security.
Come on,
you don't
man.
You don't want them jumping over the fence.
Yeah, put some water in their bowl, bit of kibble down for them. It's good.
That's all they need.
They'll keep.
Yeah. Keep chipping away at that one, mate. You keep chipping away there.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry. I've got this thing. I like using peer pressure. I'll break them down over time. It'll be fantastic.
That is fantastic. Alrighty. On that magnificent note, we might wrap this one up, eh?
Sounds like a plan.
Alrighty. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll catch you next time.